All right, just before we jump into today's episode, a quick word from our sponsor, Katana. Now, I know a lot of you are selling on Shopify, Amazon, wholesale, retail, and sometimes all at once. And, once you're on more than a couple of channels, keeping inventory accurate gets genuinely hard, and that's where Katana fits in. Stock syncs automatically across every channel and every location, all in real time. So there's no spreadsheets, there's no manual reconciliation, none of the setup overhead of a traditional ERP. Now, you can try it for free right now at katanamrp.com. That's katanamrp.com. All right, let's jump into today's episode. Well, hey there. Welcome back to E-commerce Fastlane. I am your host, Steve Hutt. Now, today's conversation is all about what happens on your store, partly when you have a product that is sold out. Now, there is another part to this solution that we're going to dig into also, but you really do know that moment. A customer kind of finds you, I don't know, through a friend or a creator or whatever, and then, they hit the product page and then they see sold out and then literally they leave. So whether you're, I don't know, doing $20,000 a month or $2 million a month, literally that page is leaking demand literally every week, and it's costing you revenue and customer experience, to be honest with you. And that's the reason why I have my guest on today, who's Sandesh, and he's the founder and CEO of a company. Well, his parent company is Arto Software, but he is the team behind STOQ, and it's spelled STOQ. It's a Shopify app. And what it does a lot of different things, which I'm sure we're going to unpack today, but it does pre-orders, which is very interesting to me. We kind of talked in the green room before recording about flash sales and what that means about creating that kind of pent up demand. But also it does kind of back in stock alerts. And I think I don't know how many stores are connected. There's 30,000. Some Shopify stores are connected. And I believe it was even named recently as one of the top 25 built for Shopify apps. So that is an incredible acumen to have labeled and getting that badge on your app. So I'm hoping by the end of this recording today that you really know where pre-orders actually fit maybe in your demand stage of your business. And then maybe, this wait list can tell you before you kind of place your next purchase order. We talk about this kind of forecasting thing. So hi, Sandesh. Welcome to E-commerce Fastlane.
Hey, thanks for having me. And that was incredible intro.
I'm hired, right?
Yeah, I hope I can live up to the promise. But yeah, we've done pre-orders and we've done back in stock alerts for a long time now. We work with a ton of different brands at different scales. Mm-hmm. I've learned a lot in the process. So yeah, I'm hoping I can be of good service today.
Absolutely. So let's go back a bit and let's talk about the actual stock out problems. I think you have an interesting story, even with a co-founder and stuff like that, because I really want to understand the problem that you found and then which allowed you to then or think about building this company and product around this problem.
Definitely. I mean, I've shared this before as well, that I really don't think that there is a good solution to solving for inventory problems. I think a lot of times people think about inventory optimization as in making sure that you consistently have inventory coming in and that your products are always available. But I don't think that's a very realistic approach. You will at some point run out of inventory. And I hope you do, because that just means that you have a great product, right? You have something that people actually want to buy. And if that is the case, customers are going to land up on a page where they aren't able to purchase. And that's just because there's so much of it outside of your control. You can have an incredible marketing moment when you have inventory and people will go and tell their friends to go and buy it. They'll land up on the page. There won't be a way for them to purchase it. Mm-hmm. And so I think you just cannot reach a point where inventory is always available. So that's kind of what fascinated us. And we ended up with building a very simple tool to help merchants capture that demand. That's what we originally started STOQ with. This was about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. We just, very simple, we'll add a notify me button to your store. Doesn't matter if you are preparing for a launch or if you don't have inventory, we will help you capture that demand so you can then notify customers when it's back in stock. And one of the data points that led us here is that back in stock alert emails and notifications tend to have the highest like conversion rate. It beats any other type of email, literally any other type.
Yeah.
And that's because the intent is so high for a customer that's signing up for a back in stock alert. Like they're just coming in with this idea that, hey, I've signed up to buy this product. And so when the notification lands, I'm just going to buy it. The emails are also designed in a way where it's just one click of a button on that email and you're straight at checkout with that product in your cart. So there's no steps to take in like thinking about what more to add to the cart. You could do that if you want to, but it's so straightforward in like getting to checkout. And that's what got us to like building the product in our first 2 years. Along the way, we learned a lot about what out of stock products actually are. And there are out of stock products that happen because you're running out of inventory often and you want to capture the demand. And then there's the other side of it, which is you don't really have the stock. You have an idea of a product and you want to sell it. And not only that, there might be out of stock products where customers actually want to buy it before you have inventory available, before you notify them.
Right.
And so we went from having products being out of stock and a notify me button to products being out of stock and having pre-orders on them to then launching products with pre-orders. And so that's kind of where we are today. We've moved from being just about back in stock alerts to now doing both really well. And we're also adding a third layer, which is to help merchants understand their data better. So one of the things that you will see with most of the solutions in the space is they will just help you capture a sign up, notify them, and maybe track the order. And that's pretty much it. But I think there's a lot more data in between, right? Like, so they landed on your page. Did they actually click the button? Did they actually sign up? How many times did they go back and forth? Across what products is this happening? What time frame? Which of them is most interesting to you to restock later? So we are adding and building an analytics platform on top. It's analytics always sounds fancy, but what we're really doing is just showing you what customers are doing on your store in a very simple way. And that's the other part of STOQ today. We're trying to give merchants that information in the best possible way we can. So let's say you start a pre-order campaign with STOQ. I can tell you with our dashboard how many customers actually saw it, how many customers actually clicked to purchase, how many of them had it in cart but abandoned, and how many of them actually went to order. So if you're a brand doing tons of pre-orders, which happens a lot, especially in the trading card games category, because you have a lot of sets that get launched and they all tend to be pre-order. Right. It's really good for you to know which of the pre-order campaigns are doing better than the others, so you know what to look forward to next or what kind of theme to look forward to next when they reach out to you to release new sets. So yeah, these are roughly the three things that we're working on STOQ today and trying to improve. I know that was a lot, but
no, it's interesting because I wrote some notes down because what's funny is that like old school, we used to always think about, well, if something's out of stock, then can we do some kind of like product page or collection page sort so that we can move the products down below the fold because we want people to buy things that are in stock. And so there are tools that allow you to do that sort of thing, to push things down. And even crazier, which I'm sure you've seen before, is people actually hiding out of stock SKUs temporarily. And that's kind of a native feature in Shopify. Just like, do you want us to hide the SKU if the inventory is zero? And I know you're not an inventory app, so like make the case for like why it is that you're not here to hide best-selling products and how you're able to delicately, through great customer experience, to saying, well, fair enough, it's not in stock right now, but we have a great system to make sure that we do capture that demand and then are able to fulfill it kind of like post.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all it is, right? Like at the end of the day, like a customer is coming to a store with an intent to purchase something that they've heard of, that they've seen. And if you're going to try and hide it from them, they're just going to bounce and move somewhere else. Now, in today's day and age, like people have a lot of brand loyalty. So I don't think you have to be as worried about a potential customer moving to another brand, but they also don't have the patience to wait for it forever or to search for it and to spend a lot of energy searching for it. So if it were up to me and if I was running a brand, my advice and the way I would approach it is to never hide those out of stock products. You would still keep the pages open. You would try to instead capture that interest and also understand how much of that interest actually exists, right? And potentially also use that as a surface to showcase other products that might be in stock. Like, it still matters to capture some kind of order, some kind of purchase from a customer landing on the pages. And there are really great ways to do that. But the customer is there for the product that they actually searched for. And if you're not capturing that interest, I think you're losing out on a sale. You're losing out on a customer experiencing the product and then potentially even bringing even more. There's a lot of like network effects things happening with every experience of a customer. So I think it's really important to just give the customer the experience they are looking forward to. And I draw the parallel to this often in software, right? Like, you use any kind of software application. If they're doing a horrible job of presenting the information or the controls to you, you're just going to leave because you don't have the time to wait for it. But if you give them if they show you what you're actually interested in right away. So for example, you want to start recording a podcast, and it's literally one button click, everything is configured and you're good to go. There's a very good chance you'll use that app to actually record a podcast. So it's the same thing with going to a store and looking for a product. You want to make sure that you get out of the way and present the product to the customer as quickly as possible. And assuming that they're still interested in it because they search for it, capture the demand if you don't actually have that product. And you don't have to promise anything. You're just capturing that demand, and you can use that to understand what do you actually need to restock next time. For small brands, that information is extremely valuable because in the early days, you don't know which ones work versus don't. Obviously, as you scale up, you know what works better and what your customers are looking forward to purchasing. And so it's a little easier there. But in the early days, you can have that button. You can have customers tell you what they're actually interested in and just make it easier to purchase the right inventory.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm sold, and I think people listening right now are definitely sold on, when something's back in stock, please notify me in some capacity. And I think that's interesting versus all the other craziness of sort and hiding. So I think we all agree on that. If we think about the pre-order side, which I think is another great part of your platform, can you kind of walk us through, like, someone turns on pre-orders? It would seem to me that maybe the first decision that a brand needs to make is like how much money they take and when. You know what I mean? It's like, so like is a pre-order like I just intent for pre-order? Should we get all the money? I guess I don't know the financial logistics behind the pre-authorization and delayed capture upon fulfillment, or do we collect all the money up front, or is there like a 50% deposit and the remaining upon fulfillment? I just don't know Shopify and Stripe or Shopify Payments and your app, how it all works. Can you kind of walk us through? Because I think people are from a financial perspective, are trying to figure out, if I'm going to pre-order or pre-launch something, I'm going to use your solution. How do the finances all work? From a customer experience, and then the back office, how these orders are finally fulfilled and fully captured and paid for.
Yeah, that's these are all great. I think there's similar to payments, there's another area of pre-orders like fulfillment and how you actually manage that. And I think these are the two common things that we always see in every conversation with a brand as to how do you go about pre-orders. My big 2 cents on it is, in general, for most categories of products, you can very easily collect full payment upfront because your customers will be interested in purchasing it from you. And it makes things very easy down the road as well. It's very straightforward, just like how customers would purchase a product regularly, like for something that's in stock. In a very similar way, you would capture payment for the pre-order upfront, and you tell the customer, hey, I'm going to ship it on this date, and this is all you need to know. With STOQ, we make that very easy because we present that information on the product page. We tell them in the cart, at checkout, in their order confirmation email. So they know that, hey, I've paid in full, but this is when I can expect shipping. And it's very easy to set this up. It takes, hopefully, less than 10 minutes. And there's nothing more complicated to it than just, what I mean to say is it's as simple as getting an order for a product that's in stock.
Right.
Now, on the partial payments and deposit side, we've seen many, many different variations of it. And it all depends on what your relationship with the manufacturer is like. and also what kind of operations you also run. So for example, like we have brands that sell furniture, right? And furniture is one of those categories where expecting a customer to pay $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 upfront is not going to happen, right? Not only for pre-orders, but for back orders in general. I don't see it happening a lot, and it's a crazy amount of money to ask for upfront. So what they tend to do is they capture a deposit. Let's say it's $100 or $500, depending on what makes most sense for the brand. And again, this is very simple to set up with STOQ. It's very simple to set up in Shopify too. The only gotcha is that you need to be using Shopify Payments. You cannot be using any other payment gateway, just because of how Shopify works. If you are capturing full payment on pre-orders, you can use PayPal or Shopify Payments. But if it's partial payments, then it's only Shopify Payments, which tends to be just credit cards. And then again, it's very simple. You can tell us in the app, hey, I want to collect this much upfront. So let's say it's a $2,000 item. You're capturing $200 upfront, and then you're going to capture the rest either on a specific date or before you ship, which is what most brands tend to do. They tend to capture it right before shipping. Because Shopify vaults the card, as in they store the payment details on the order itself, you don't have to worry about things like authorization and any of those things that you tend to generally see. I think a lot of brands think about, should I do auth or capture when it comes to regular in-stock orders? But with pre-orders, Shopify vaults the payment details. So that means you don't have to worry about authorization. When you're ready to ship, you just click a button, either in the app or in Shopify admin, and the rest of the payment gets charged. So there's no mandate as such. There's no authorization of the total amount. There's just a connection between Shopify and the card. And so what it does is when you're ready to ship and you capture and you want to collect the remaining amount, it just charges the card for that amount. So Shopify has done a ton of work in making this very, very easy through their APIs, as they have done in the past. And we built a layer on top of it that makes it even simpler to set up. It's just a bunch of clicks in the dashboard and you're done. And it shouldn't be any more complicated than that. If it is more complicated than that, then you should probably think about switching to something that's easier. But pre-orders, I think maybe like 5 years ago, they were very hard to do right. Now it's easy. And this is also why we see a lot of brands like launching new products and just getting very comfortable with pre-orders. I think just in the last few weeks, we've seen some of like Shopify's largest brands just come to STOQ because it's the process behind setting up pre-orders is very simple. What you want to look for when you're doing pre-orders, though, is working with an app that has that is really simple to set up, has really good support. I'm not saying that you have to go with us, but in general, these are the things you should be looking for. Like it's easy to use, has great support, and beyond pre-orders, has the features you're looking for. So just to give you an example of that, like customers will obviously see information about their pre-order in the cart and at checkout and in their email, but they tend to forget. They definitely tend to forget, and they will reach out to you over and over. You may also have shipping delays, and you want to be able to notify them easily in case for some reason the pre-order ships much later than you expected. These are simple things that ideally your pre-order app should do. And so you want to think about what else is beyond the regular pre-order workflow that is important to your business that will help you do pre-orders really well. And those are the three things that I will use to evaluate like what app you should go with, because the rest of it is very simple, very straightforward. But it's really all about in your pre-order workflow, what are the things that matter to you? And to me, it's ease of use. Do you have great support? And do you have the things that I need beyond just capturing the pre-order?
What I find interesting, though, too, is when you think about like a brand, if they choose to turn on pre-orders, you would think that there would have to be some decent communication with like the warehouse team. or your 3PL. And then also the support team needs to kind of understand kind of like how are they dealing with it. You made a good point about if there's a delay in shipping, or and what you don't want to do is, especially if it's a long delay of a month or more, sometimes credit card statements come in and people forget what they pre-ordered, and then it kind of goes down an ugly path of disputes and things like that. And it's just like the proactive outreach. So it seems like there's a couple different variables here of like, is the warehouse prepared for the fact that there's going to be this demand coming soon, and it's being all lined up for an official launch, and so that whole interesting thing has to happen. And then there's a support team to manage leading up to it, and then including the actual fulfillment part of it. So maybe you have a couple anecdotes around how other businesses have kind of handled those two things.
Yeah, definitely. This disproportionately affects larger brands more than affects small ones, because you have very straightforward relationships. And in general, for small brands, you as the founder of the brand is interacting with everyone. And there are no teams as such. But yeah, with larger brands, we've seen this. And in fact, this is most of the conversation when they're trying to get on board stock. There's the hardest part, I think, of like setting up pre-orders is just making sure that every team is aware of the fact that this order is a pre-order, or it contains a pre-order item, and you need to action on it in a certain way.
Right.
There's no good like immediate solution or thing that you should do, but one thing you should definitely do right away as you're coming on to pre-orders is bringing those teams together. With fulfillment, everyone has their own provider and solution. At one point, I thought it was just Ship Hero or just ShipStation, but I've heard of so many more since then. Right. And every app and every platform has their own unique way of doing things, but most of them are very malleable in the sense that you can integrate them and capture the information you need to tell the warehouse team to not action on it. That's something that I think also a pre-order app should own and do well, which is add information to the order so that any team that's working downstream of the order knows that that product is a pre-order and they have to action on it or not action on it, or hold the fulfillment, or whatever it may be, right? So something simple we do is that we tag the order. And on the product itself, in the order, we add information about when shipping is expected, or any other internal notes that they need to know. Everything is directly right there. So the fulfillment team working downstream has that information available to them anytime.
Right.
Same thing for customer support. Your customer support team is most likely always looking at the order details in Shopify admin or wherever else on their platform.
Or Gorgeous or something.
Or Gorgeous or something like that. But they're all feeding off of the one source of truth in Shopify, which is the order itself.
Right.
So the more you can have a pre-order app add that information to the order, the better off you are. And that's what we do. And that's the main way we solve issues on both ends. Whenever you tell us this is how a pre-order should function inside STOQ, we add all of that to Shopify. So I guess in that sense, we try to stay as Shopify native as possible. And that's what brands should be doing as well. Like the more Shopify native you are, the better.
Yeah.
And if you have that information stored somewhere, you can pull that into other directions and you can set it up. So we had a brand we worked with just last week where they were talking about helping their customer support team know that the order is a pre-order and how they should action on it or what they should do. And they were working on Gorgeous. So we don't have an integration with Gorgeous just yet. We're working on it. But because everything you need to know about pre-orders is already on the order, they were just able to pull that information in easily and add a custom widget saying that, hey, this order contains a pre-order item. This is when shipping is expected. This is the latest information we have on it. And to talk to their customers based on whatever information they have. Yeah. So I think like everything depends on what data you put into the orders and everywhere else you interact in Shopify, because that is how you get every team working together. And the more you can do that and the more you can work with a solution that does that, the better off you are.
What's interesting too, I was thinking about the whole, like, when I think about the back in stock kind of alerts and things that can happen now if people are using your solution. And I find that a lot of brands now are running one store across multiple regions, where maybe in the past, you would run like one store per region. And so, what's your thought process around, offering, I guess maybe for certain markets, you're allowing for this pre-order to happen because that's part of the marketing push, but you wouldn't want maybe, your European customers to be involved in it yet because maybe there's no stock in the European warehouse and you don't want to fulfill from there. Is this just like simple logistics that's easy to manage kind of on the store? Or does your solution kind of allow or help that fact that, hey, this is only is it geo-fenced in some capacity? I'm just trying to understand the logic behind, since most people are running a single store in multiple regions, and multiple currencies. So I'm just curious on your feedback on that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen this too. I think back in the days of Shopify, every region had a store, right?
Yeah.
So if you were in US, you had one, then you had one from Canada, you had one for South America, you had one for Europe, and
yep.
Yeah, you were basically just managing like 10 different stores if you were.
I remember signing contracts that they give you so many URLs, and then they really were cloning all of these stores and then putting in the appropriate localized details, localized language if needed, and then the localized payment gateways. But then things have really, I think there was a SEO no, I think on that, where Google, as much as in the early days you thought, okay, in .ca you'll get preferential treatment on Google.ca, maybe, but now localized experience with canonicalizing things, it doesn't really matter anymore, and it's better to have a single source of truth on one domain, but allows, hey, we see you're in Canada, click here, and then all of a sudden then the currency changes and there's and localized products are displayed. But that's all kind of native now in Shopify. I just want to make sure that STOQ, your solution, understands those nuances about, well, where is this either pre-order or this back in stock notification? When is it happening, and does it really matter by region?
Yeah, I mean, we were one of the original or early adopters of Shopify Markets. Yeah. When it came out. I want to say it's been about 2 years now. If I'm not wrong.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, like it was a really great bet we made. We were the earliest in our space for sure. Mm-hmm. On STOQ, we have market support for both pre-orders and back in stock alerts. In very simple terms, if your customers are in the US and they sign up to receive a notification for a restock in the US, we will make sure that they only get notified for a restock in the US and they don't get notified for a restock in Europe. And same thing with pre-orders. If you want to sell pre-orders only in the US or only in Europe or only in a set of markets and not the others, we can help you set that up. And it's literally just a bunch of clicks in the dashboard. I think it's something that still not a lot of other solutions have because it's not straightforward, but it is the need of the hour for sure, because I think the days of having many stores is pretty much done. Everything is managed from one store, from one admin, more than multiple. And I think going back to like why they did it, I think it makes a ton of sense because it's very hard to copy and manage multiple stores. It's very easy to do that in one admin where you can manage everything. And it just makes sense. I think once you have done really well in a market, you want to move to others, you want to expand, and you want to be able to manage it very easily. There's still a ton of brands, by the way, that use Klaviyo for back in stock alerts. We've seen a ton of them move to STOQ, not only because we have a Klaviyo app, but also because Klaviyo doesn't do back in stock alerts based on markets or based on locations. I mean, let's not even talk about markets. We can, like, locations are the standard or the known way for a lot of brands, especially in the small and the medium size, right? Like you have 2 locations that you're servicing customers from that you're restocking products in. And you want to make sure that customers, if you have the stock in 2 locations, maybe only one of them is servicing the online store, especially if you have like a brick and mortar location as well. And right. So when you're restocking the warehouse, the one location servicing the online store, That's the only time you want to notify customers, not when you're restocking products in your brick and mortar store, in your physical store, in your retail store.
Right.
Yeah, that's something that's very simple. That's very basic. That is a realistic expectation of how you operate your business. And that's also something we do really well, which is you can tell us, hey, I only want customers to be notified when this location is restocked, not the other ones. And it just works in that way. I think there's a lot more to do with, actually, to take it one level further.
Sure.
In general, with back in stock alerts, be it Klaviyo, be it whatever app you use, for the most part, let's say you have a product that's doing really, really well. You get a ton of signups. You get like 10,000 people signing up for the product. What most brands do today is that when the products get restocked, when that product gets restocked, they notify everyone on the list. Now, you're not actually getting 10,000 units. In most cases, you never are. You're getting 1,000, maybe 500. Yeah. You're selling them out, but all 10,000 people got notified. You're obviously going to sell out, but everybody got notified. Most of them didn't get the product. And now for them to receive a notification again, they'll have to sign up again because that's just how it works.
Right.
With most solutions. And I think you're pretty much, for lack of a better word, like wasting your audience's time, because they were just never going to get the product in the first place. So it makes no sense to notify them. So we have a solution for that too, which we've seen a lot of adoption in and a lot of success, which is that based on the number of units that you restock, we will notify a set number of people. And then we will check if the product is still in stock a bit later. And if it is, then we'll notify the next batch, and so on and so forth until the product is sold out. So we're not notifying 10,000 people at once. You put in 500 units, we'll notify 1,000 people, see if they pick up the product and it fully sells out. Smart. And if it does, we'll stop there. So the next time you restock, the next set of people from there onwards gets notified, and then they get their chance. So
I see.
Not only are you like keeping your audience and not wasting their time, but you're also giving them a great experience, right? You're not sending everyone to this product listing and seeing 90% of them not being able to buy. You're just making sure that customers who are first on the list get a notification, are able to purchase, and they have a great shopping experience.
I'm going to pivot a bit over to my AI native friends that are listening right now. There's a lot of Claude and ChatGPT users, and I understand that you've added recently an MCP server directly to your solution. Can you talk a bit about, I think there's even an SDK for those that really want to get under the hood. But let's talk a bit about the MCP. It seems interesting to me that merchants can now, maybe using Claude and adding the MCP, what does it do to the pre-order or restock flows now by having access to this AI agent now? It seems like my day-to-day now, it literally is in Claude. That's just my day-to-day. That's my chief of staff, and I just kind of how I run a lot of things because I have all of these MCP connections and I can trigger them as needed. I'm just curious on your mindset about the MCP that you build, and are there any use cases that people are really enjoying it?
Yeah, definitely. We are going all in on AI across the board, and I'm sure that's the case for everyone.
Yeah.
Just last week or just this week? Oh my God, time is just flying.
Yeah.
Just this week, actually, I spoke to a brand that used our MCP and our APIs to build a custom integration for a pre-order order status page. So and it's more beyond that. So what they do is they have their inventory, their manufacturer, and their inventory supplier store a bunch of data in product-related metafields, so they can store information about when a potential product is going to be available. They sell record labels, by the way, and they have street dates. So the supplier puts these street dates on a metafield on the product, and then they want this product metafield to show up on the pre-orders on the product page when it turns into a pre-order. So they used our MCP and our APIs to connect the two. So the inventory supplier tells them when the street date is, they tell stock when that date is supposed to be, and it just shows up on the product page automatically. Not only that, they can also keep a track of how many products are actually pre-order, how many orders are coming in, and it's all automated end to end. So they were literally telling me that like I don't have to pay attention anymore. There's just this very simple dashboard that's been built. It's consuming meta fields from Shopify. It's using your APIs, and everything is in sync. And not only is it in sync, customers also get a great experience because one, the collection pages update automatically to show which product is a pre-order or not. And they have an order status page where customers can see for this product, this is the expected timeline of shipping, or this is when that order is going to ship if it has a pre-order item. So they basically clotted their way to building a great customer experience for pre-orders. And we're going all in on this front. MCPs with Claude, you can basically understand your store's pre-orders and back in stock alerts end to end. Not just with Claude through the MCP, but also with Sidekick. And we have our own internal AI agent as well. So anywhere you talk to AI, you'll be able to find out how well you're doing with stock. And I think it's very important because once upon a time, you had every platform provide a dashboard or provide a report that made sense to 80% of people, right? And I think what we've all learned with AI is that you like to have your reports in your own way. You like to have it appear in a specific way, have columns in a specific way, have filters in a specific way, only see data that is relevant to you and not a bunch of other stuff. And in the past, we did all of that with filters and hiding columns and things like that. But AI can really help you build a report that helps your business better. So we're going all in on AI just for that because we see the potential in really like creating a dashboard that's unique to you. And that's been a lot of use on the MCP and the AI and the Sidekick front. And the other big thing we're seeing uptake in is our APIs. So a lot of brands now we see are just creating pre-order campaigns, setting up products for back-end stock alerts, notifying customers, all using our APIs. For the most part, I don't even think they interact with our dashboard. They're just happy to have APIs so they can just build whatever world they dream of. And same thing for the customer-facing storefronts. Like once upon a time, it was all online store, but as I'm sure you've heard, headless is kind of the thing. A lot of brands are creating and managing their own stores or storefronts. And you just want to build a pre-order or back-end stock experience that's the best fit for you. Like sometimes it's not as simple as having like a pop-up that has the email and phone number field. You want to have a little more like a product image or some sort of fancy messaging. And so we have an SDK for that you can use to build your own sign-up form. All we care about is making sure that we capture the information you tell us, and everything else can be designed and built the way you want to. We're just responsible for storing that information and giving you access to it in the way you like. And so, this has been another big game changer for us with having these APIs, the SDK, the meta fields, as much documentation as we can have. And I kind of like, I wish we'd done it sooner because as a developer, I appreciate it when products have everything I need to build what I envision. And so when you see a Shopify app or you see a product that has everything you need to build what you want, I think it's amazing. It's fascinating. It feels free. And so we're moving even more in that direction too.
Well, I think you've done the right thing with, and I appreciate the SDKs. I agree with you that if you're kind of developer friendly, which you clearly are, being a developer yourself and former Shopify, it's interesting that that's there. I think the MCP really is in my opinion is the winner because it's more of like product adoption overall. It seems to be there's a lot more kind of like early stage kind of like AI people now that are like saying they understand that this is what they need to build their competitive mode, and so they're more apt to be hanging out in Claude or ChatGPT, and knowing they have access to an MCP, it's very interesting, and I think it's part of people's workflow, people just getting used to it. So I think it's pretty cool. Just before we kind of wrap up for today, I want to make sure that we share that there is, it's really easy to kind of get set up. I think that's one of the key things. I have a demo store, and so I installed the app myself. I was curious on the workflow. There is a free solution. So literally like you can kick the tires for free. I think there's like 10 pre-orders and you can do, and so it's interesting what you can do and get it rolling. And then pricing is I think it's just scaled based on the number of pre-orders per month, and stuff like that. And I think even the unlimited plan is very affordable, like $70 $50 or something like that. Can you talk about like just quickly the onboarding process and kind of how it happens, and then how quickly we can kind of create a campaign and get things set up?
Yeah, it's hopefully as easy as I use it myself every day. Our pricing, just to touch on that, is very straightforward. We have a very generous free plan, and there's a good reason for that, because I think if you're bogged down with trying to upgrade as soon as you use a product, that's just no fun. And so, we have a generous free plan. Most of the features we have on the app are free. And not only that, typically what most software and apps do is that they tier features based on the plan you're on. So for example, for $10, you get these features. For $30, you get something else. For $100, you get everything. We do it a little differently. For $10, you get everything. There's no limits on features whatsoever. Whatever you see in the app, if you pay $10 a month, you get access to all of it. I'm talking about the most complicated of integrations to the simplest of ones. Whatever it is, it's all there for $10. Amazing. And the rest of the tiering is definitely based on orders, number of pre-orders, number of back in stock alerts you want to send. If you are a large brand though, and you don't want to pay attention to any of it, $69 a month, that's all we need. It's unlimited everything. So I think it's a very straightforward decision if you are very focused on getting pre-orders and back in stock alerts done right, and you don't want to worry about spending. That's literally all we need to set it up end to end. And even the onboarding is very straightforward. You tell us, you get on the app, you tell us which products actually you want to start selling as pre-orders. If you're doing pre-orders, then you configure a few settings, which are basically what payment you want to capture, whether it's full or partial or a deposit, when you expect to ship, and if you have any quantity limits. For pre-orders, merchants and brands tend to have limits. So they say, I only want to sell 100 units as pre-orders.
Right.
You tell us that, you capture all that information in the dashboard, which takes about 2 or 3 steps. Then you go to the product page and make sure that you see a pre-order button and you see all the information you configured. If you don't, just tell us. We'll be happy to figure it out for you and configure it, because online stores and teams can be a little finicky sometimes. We have a dedicated team to help you. That's 24/7. So it doesn't matter which part of the world you're in. 24/7, you'll get help from someone to get that sorted out for you.
Amazing.
And that's it. You're pretty much done. You're just selling pre-orders from there. Back in stock alerts is even simpler. You just install the app. Make sure you see a notify me button, because for the most part, it should be there.
Right.
Change the text, change the email if you would like, but you don't need to. Whenever you restock the product, we will notify customers. It's supposed to be as simple as that. However, things may not be. And if it never is, I work on the business pretty much every day. And so my emails, Reddit, wherever you find me, just trouble me, and I'll be happy to help you.
All right. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes for sure. So Shopify App Store, kudos, by the way, on, like I said, being built for Shopify, having that logo there. I think that's amazing. And you have over 3,000, almost 4,000, I think, 5-star reviews. So clearly people are loving the solution if they're willing to put themselves out publicly, that they're, you're clearly solving a great problem for them. And then they can go directly, I believe, to, if I'm not mistaken, it's STOQ. So STOQ app.com, stockapp.com. You can go there. And there's some great case studies, by the way, too. I should put a few of those in the show notes too, because, you've solved a lot of great problems, and people are publicly saying that, I'm using this solution and it's really been very impactful for me. So I think it's pretty amazing. So, Sandesh, thanks again for recording today. Like I said, I always joke on the show, but you can't see because the camera's not on, but, page 2 of notes. It's just life of learning, right? It's the old school thing from Shopify about, being merchant obsessed or thriving on change and being a constant learner, all these mantras we used to have when we both were employees there. And I feel blessed I had the chance to learn about what your solution actually does. And I wish you continued success, and thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And you're bang on, merchant obsessed. That's kind of, I heard those words at Shopify, and it's been stuck in my head ever since. We're just trying to do everything we can to make this part of Shopify as easy as possible, to make pre-orders and back in stock as easy as possible.
It's funny.
Appreciate the chat.
No worries at all. It kind of reminds me of the other words. You're right. It stays in your brain. Being impactful is one that Toby used to always beat on us for, that, in town halls and stuff. And the other one was like building for the long term. And that was something that was incredibly important. So, all right. Well, have yourself a great afternoon, and thanks a lot for recording.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Take care. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of E-commerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.